Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Ling Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's stories. San Jose police made arrests in relation to a mall shooting last year. Fortunately, no one was killed, but there seems to be gang-related violence in the case. The Los Angeles sheriff says crime and unsafe conditions are increasing on the city's public transit system. The sheriff is threatening to pull his deputies from patrolling unless the Metro Board makes changes. And a lot has been going on with Elon Musk and Twitter. He recently offered to buy the platform outright with a cash payment. He says the company needs to turn private to make effective changes. San Jose Police Department announced that the holiday shooting at the Oakridge Mall has been solved. Fortunately, no one was killed that day. And now 3 people have been arrested, 2 of which are gang-affiliated.
San Jose police have arrested Ulysses Jimenez, 19, Paul LeBeau, 18, and Naylene Hobson-Plattner, 18, in connection to the December 2021 shooting at Oakridge Mall. Jimenez and LeBeau are allegedly gang members and have been charged with robbery. Hobson-Plattner has been taken into custody. According to police, Jimenez and LeBeau robbed Hobson-Plattner and his girlfriend around 6 p.m. on December 20th, 2021. Then the 2 robbers went into a crowd of dozens of holiday shoppers. Hobson-Plattner then pulled out a gun and fired at them indiscriminately. The gun had been modified to be automatic. During the chaos, the suspects fled the mall, police said. SJPD secured the mall in the coming hours and collected physical evidence. Police used DNA to link Hobson-Plattner to the shooting. District Attorney Jeff Rosen said in a press release, "I can't thank the San Jose Police Department enough. It was San Jose officers who entered the mall that day, ready to confront a lethal threat. It was San Jose detectives who found them after the chaos and arrested them. Now we will prosecute this incredibly reckless act of gun violence." Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
A federal judge on Thursday sentenced the political activist and Democratic donor Ed Buck to 30 years in prison in the deaths of Jamel Moore and Timothy Dean. Even after the 2 men were found dead in his California apartment, Buck did not stop injecting other gay men with methamphetamine. He personally injected them with the drug in exchange for sex. Another man, Dane Brown, was repeatedly injected by Buck but survived. His account of what happened led to Buck's arrest in 2019. Buck appeared in a U.S. District Court in Los Angeles for providing fatal doses of drugs, operating a drug den, and enticing men to travel for prostitution. Prosecutors said he often targeted young, vulnerable black men. He was convicted on 9 felony counts last summer. Buck told the judge on Thursday that he had loved the men and said he wished he could have turned back time, and insisted that he was not responsible. The Democratic donor also gave money to the LGBTQ and animal rights community. The Los Angeles sheriff blamed the so-called woke city leaders for the unsafe conditions on the city's public transit. As a consequence, he said he will pull his department's contract to patrol parts of the public transit lines. NTD's Cynthia Kai reports on what the sheriff is saying.
Los Angeles Sheriff Alex Villanueva said he sent a letter to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority Board, or MTA, asking to restore full public safety control to the department by July 1st. Otherwise, he would remove 325 of his deputies currently patrolling public safety and redeploy them elsewhere.
The board has been taking away all the discretionary authority of every peace officer on the train system. They're trying to transfer it to private security into this ambassador program because they do not want to enforce the rule of law. I don't know if they just caught up in this woke nonsense, so they thought that maybe it's all about feel good.
Villanueva said the sheriff's department had full control of patrolling the MTA lines in 2017 until that contract expired. The MTA then created a 3-agency patrol system. The current contract splits patrolling responsibilities between the Sheriff's Department, Long Beach Police Department, and Los Angeles Police Department.
It should be noted that our department has the Metrolink contract, and that is 538 miles of track. It covers 6 counties. You do not see this on the Metrolink. You only see it on the MTA system.
Villanueva says MTA's current contract limits law enforcement officers' ability to do their jobs.
They've told all of the operators or the law enforcement that if someone needs to be ejected from the train, it is better to actually escort the paying passengers, remove them from the train and get another train for them than to address the problematic person on the train itself. I mean, this is just bizarre. So the only people that have a right to stay on the train are the ones that are homeless, unruly, drunk, urinating, defecating. They're the ones that cannot be touched.
According to the Sheriff's Department, the growing homeless population has led to fatalities on MTA trains and in the stations.
The elevators and all the transit system become basically vertical mobile porta potties. That's what they are, because that's what the homeless population is using them for.
The sheriff's comments come 2 weeks after personally riding the metro lines to investigate their condition. According to the department's data, robberies and aggravated assaults on the MTA have been increasing since 2019. But during the summer 2020 riots over the death of George Floyd, MTA cut back on the use of law enforcement on the train lines to reduce the appearance of armed responses on everyday transit systems. NTD reached out to MTA for a comment. Cynthia Kai, NTD News, California.
Billionaire Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for about $41 billion in cash. He says the social media company, which he has often criticized, needs to go private to see effective changes.
A good sign as to whether there is free speech is someone you don't like allowed to say something you don't like. And if that is the case, then we have free speech. And it's damn annoying when someone you don't like says something you don't like. That is a sign of a healthy, functioning, free speech situation.
Musk rejected an offer to join Twitter's board earlier this week after disclosing his stake in the company. Analysts said that signaled his intention to take over the firm, since a board seat would have limited his stake to just under 15%. Musk's offer price was $54.20 per share, which was disclosed in a regulatory filing on Thursday. The total deal value was calculated based on about 760 million shares outstanding, according to Refinitiv data. Musk said in a letter to Twitter chairman Brett Taylor that this was his best and final offer. If not accepted, he would need to reconsider his position as shareholder, he wrote. Twitter did not respond to a request for comment. Imports are going strong at the Port of Los Angeles. The director reported the third busiest month ever at one of the United States' largest seaports. Let's take a look at what the ships are bringing in.
Cargo volumes at the Port of Los Angeles broke another record in March. Record-breaking numbers have come in every month so far in 2022.
We started off year 2022 with 3 consecutive record months and our best first quarter ever, eclipsing the previous record set just last year by 3.5%.
The total number of containers for the first 3 months of this year sits at 2.7 million containers.
Overall volume reached more than 958,000 20-foot equivalent units, just edging out the record we set last March. And this turns out to be the third best month overall in the port's history, behind only 1 million TEUs that we did last May and 980,000 TEUs in October of 2020.
Soroka said imports remain strong as retailers continue to replenish inventories and satisfy high demand from American consumers. Despite imports being up, year-on-year exports were down. The port processed just under 12,000 containers for Asia-bound exports, down 9% from last year.
Exports have now declined 37 of the last 41 months here in Los Angeles. With import activity strong and exports waning, empties are being processed at greater levels than ever back to Asia.
Soroka called for a national export policy and is working with U.S. agriculture groups and the manufacturing community to improve exports. Further, last December, the port started a program to penalize ocean carriers with a fee of $100 per empty container. The program has not yet started, but it's set to begin at the end of April. A similar fee can be enacted for empty containers idling at the port.
Both COOs, the chief operating officers, have told me directly they're more than happy to jump into the fray, assist their day-to-day colleagues, and see whatever we can do to move the needle. But as a last-ditch effort, if that fee is necessary to get people motivated, we may just have to use it.
But slowdowns at the dual Los Angeles-Long Beach ports are leading shippers to consider other delivery destinations. Alan Murphy, CEO of Sea Intelligence, says there is a 60% increase in the number of Asia-North America East Coast train lines in the coming months.
We're going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. The state is looking to make a temporary prison term reduction program permanent. For certain convicts, it could lower a 30-year prison term all the way down to 10. And California's governor announced millions in funding for a housing project that turns hotels into permanent housing for homeless people. But previous state reports have called the effectiveness of the program into question. And 2 teams of firefighters made 2 cute rescues. We'll look at their stories behind the baby animals that they got to safety. That and more on California Today. In California prisons, inmates are able to be released early through good conduct credits. Recent changes allowed inmates to get out sooner through emergency regulations. Now the state is considering making the new changes permanent. NTD's David Lamb reports.
In January, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, or CDCR, made changes to how inmates earn credits for good conduct. Under the emergency regulation, lasting about 5 months, inmates can participate in services and programs to earn increased credits to reduce their prison sentence. The CDCR plans to make the accelerated credit system permanent, which can reduce certain prison sentences by up to 67%. These changes aim to promote participation in rehab and educational services. Melinda Aiello with the Yolo County District Attorney's Office spoke out against the changes during public comment on Thursday.
We do not believe that these across-the-board credit increases promote public safety, and in fact, they harm public safety.
Under the regulation, credits increased from 50 to 66% for prisoners with non-violent convictions, including repeat offenders. Violent offenders could have their conduct credits increased to up to 50%.
And we know that crimes such as domestic violence, felon in possession of a firearm, child abuse, and many other crimes are in fact violent, but are not violent under the law.
Supporters in public comments include several parents of inmates, social workers, including some who were incarcerated themselves. One supporter said she used the services in prison and was able to change her life and return to society.
And if you take away these rehabilitative credits from people who strongly want to change their life and want to earn these credits, you'll be doing a disservice to them and to the humanity of who we are as a nation.
Supporters say this gives inmates a second chance. But district attorneys across California are saying that the good conduct credits are being abused by CDCR and are instead allowing violent criminals to only serve a third of their sentence. A 10-year sentence could be reduced to nearly 3 years and several months. In May 2021, Sacramento District Attorney Ann Schubert, along with 44 other elected district attorneys, filed a lawsuit against CDCR, challenging the use of the emergency process for early releases. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Governor Gavin Newsom declared $70 million for 6 new Homekey projects throughout California, though they will provide 232 units for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. Previous reports called the project's effectiveness into question.
The governor's office announced on Wednesday that the awards are for acquiring hotels and motels for the cities of Berkeley, Arcata, County of Santa Barbara, and Los Angeles, as well as the Yurok Indian Housing Authority. Newsom stated, "We've swiftly created safer places to live for thousands of unhoused individuals throughout the last 2 years, and today's awards continue that progress." But a February report from the state's Legislative Analyst Office criticized Project Homekey and its sister initiative, Project Roomkey. Occupancy averaged at 70% for the state. Areas hit most hard with homelessness, like Los Angeles, saw 65% occupancy. According to the governor's office, additional awards are to be announced in the coming weeks.
It seems there will never be a safe way to smoke. New research suggests that chronic e-cigarette use changes the inflammatory state of multiple internal organs. Here's a look at what the researchers found out.
Researchers at the University of California, San Diego School of Medicine found daily use of pod-based e-cigarettes alters inflammation in several internal organs. Their findings, published on Tuesday through Cambridge-based eLife Sciences, included the brain, heart, lungs, and colon. Chronic e-cigarette use can make these organs more susceptible to various forms of disease and infection. More surprisingly, the effects may vary depending on the e-cigarette flavors and can influence how organs respond to infections. Senior study author Dr. Laura Crotty-Alexander, associate professor of medicine at UCSD School of Medicine, said these pod-based e-cigarettes have only become popular in the last 5 or so years, so we don't know much about their long-term effects on health. The study was carried out on adult mice, simulating chronic use of 2 flavored aerosols from Juul e-cigarettes, mint and mango. Crotty-Alexander said the results were pretty terrifying, as many e-cigarette users are young adults, aged 18 to 24. Her team found the most striking effect in the brain. Inflammation occurred in the areas for motivation and reward processing, which could result in anxiety, depression, and addictive behaviors. Crotty-Alexander concluded that the flavor chemicals themselves are also causing pathological changes. She added that e-cigarette use could fundamentally change how a person's body responds to infection.
How about some high-tech coffee? Panera Bread is testing out an artificial intelligence-based coffee monitoring system. The system, Cook Right Coffee, is from a California company called Miso Robotics. The goal? Quality and efficiency. The company says the system monitors coffee metrics such as volume, temperature, and time data, and uses predictive analytics aimed at creating the perfect cup of coffee. The system eliminates the need for manual checks of coffee urns and is aimed at helping workers brew coffee at just the right time, so the coffee stays fresh and hot. And Panera wants the system to free up workers to spend more time helping customers. We have all heard of firefighters rescuing cats stuck in trees, but 2 different California firefighter teams carried out slightly different rescues for 2 baby animals. Let's take a look at what and how the firefighters rescued.
Fresno firefighters recently rescued a little gray kitten trapped inside the bathroom wall of a home. The Fresno Fire Department said in a Facebook post that the resident reported hearing meowing coming from inside the wall. Firefighters used an infrared thermal imaging camera to locate the kitten. They chopped into the wall with an axe and lifted the infant feline out unscathed. Firefighters said the kitten and its mother had apparently entered the home through the attic, and the kitten fell through to the bathroom wall. The kitten's mother has run away, but the residents said they would try to find the rescued kitty a forever home. Meanwhile, instead of rescuing an animal from a tree, another team did the exact opposite. Firefighters in Los Angeles jumped into action to rescue an owlet that fell from its nest atop a home in Woodland Hills. The nest appeared to be home to at least 3 owlets and its mother. A resident called LAFD on Monday to report an owlet had fallen. Firefighters located the owlet, picked it up, and while wearing personal protective equipment, climbed a ladder and placed it back in the nest. The mother owl returned to the nest, giving the LAFD photographer a rather indignant look, as she covered the nest protectively. But firefighters say they assume the last photo is the mother's thankfulness face.
Now to NTD's Thomas Christian for an update on sports.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup. Logan Webb won a pitcher's duel, and Luke Williams drove in the only runs host San Francisco would need in the second inning to beat San Diego in the finale of their 3-game series. Webb allowed a double and a triple in the first inning and then permitted just 2 more hits through 8 innings as the Giants took the series with back-to-back wins. He struck out 7 and did not walk a batter. Williams' 2-run double to left field with 2 outs in the second erased the Giants' 1-0 deficit. Camilo Duvall picked up his first save of the season, surviving a bases-loaded jam in the 9th. Giants 2, Padres 1. After being the subject of persistent trade rumors in recent days, Oakland ace Frankie Montas was masterful as Oakland defeated Tampa Bay in St. Petersburg, Florida. Montas went 6 1/3 innings, allowing just 5 hits and 2 runs. He struck out 6 without a walk. Relievers Kirby Snead, Zach Jackson, and Lou Trevino came on to keep the Rays quiet, with Trevino earning his first save of the season. Oakland's Sean Murphy hit a 3-run homer to seal the win. A's 4, Rays 2. Clayton Kershaw struck out 13 batters in 7 perfect innings before being pulled on a 38-degree afternoon, and the Los Angeles Bats came alive in beating host Minnesota. Pitching in a wind-chill 28 degrees, Kershaw was on a 75-pitch limit in making his first start following a 10-8 season when he made just 22 starts and missed the postseason due to left forearm and elbow injuries. He threw 80 pitches, 53 for strikes. Cody Bellinger, Gavin Lux, and Austin Barnes homered on consecutive at-bats in the 8th inning for the Dodgers, who had just 1 homer in their first 4 games of the season. Max Muncy also homered for Los Angeles. Dodgers 7, Twins 0. 7-time Olympic gold medalist Allyson Felix said on Wednesday that she would run one final track season, months after competing in her 5th game. The most decorated American track and field Olympian picked up a bronze in the 400 meters and gold in the 4x400 meters relay in Tokyo last year, having already confirmed that it would be her final games. In an Instagram post, she said she would say goodbye to the sport with one last run. The 13-time world champion became an advocate for working mothers after giving birth to her daughter Cameron via an emergency C-section in 2018. In an opinion piece for the New York Times, she said she faced pay cuts from sponsors including Nike after having her child and competed in Tokyo wearing shoes from her own Seish line. And that's all for California sports. Back to you.
And that's all for tonight. You can join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. If you have any news tips or ideas for our show, or just want to let us know how we're doing, our email is california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.